How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. In this summary, you will see some of the main techniques introduced in Dale Carnegie's self-help classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. By implementing these simple and specific techniques, you will become a more likable, persuasive, and effective person, professional, and leader. This video book is a summary of the original work. You can find the complete book published by the author at the link in the description of this video. Before proceeding with listening to the video book, we ask you to support us by subscribing to the channel and activating the notification bell. Stay with us until the end of the video and let us know what you think. Thank you.
The author. Dale Breckinridge Carnegie, born in the picturesque town of Maryville on November 24, 1888, stands out not only as a writer of great talent but also as a prominent American educator. His life was a journey of discoveries and dedication to the art of communication and personal development. With a burning passion for education and the empowerment of individuals, Carnegie devised and promoted a series of innovative courses. These were not limited to just sales techniques or leadership, but extended to fields such as corporate training, the art of interpersonal relationships, and, above all, the skill of public speaking with eloquence and confidence. Among his most famous works, How to Win Friends and Influence People stands out. This book, first published by Simon & Schuster in 1936 in the United States and later introduced to the Italian public by Bompiani, is not just a guide but a true masterpiece of its genre. With over 15 million copies sold worldwide, it's no surprise that it remains a must-read for anyone wishing to enhance their interpersonal skills. Its impact is such that it ranks among the best-selling books in the history of personal development. But Carnegie didn't stop there. His curiosity and love for history led him to also write biographical works. One of the most notable is The Unknown Lincoln, a deep dive into the life of Abraham Lincoln, published by the Century Company in 1932. In this text, Carnegie unveils lesser-known aspects of the 16th President of the United States, offering readers an intimate and detailed view of one of the most emblematic figures in American history.
If you want others to like you, don't criticize them. It's useless to reprimand people because 99 out of 100 times, people do not accept criticism. No matter how wrong they may be, criticism is futile because it puts people on the defensive and immediately prompts them to seek justification. It's very dangerous as it wounds people's pride, makes them feel insignificant, and arouses resentment. Instead of condemning people's actions, try to understand them. Put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself why they act this way. God doesn't judge anyone before their death, so why should we? The famous test pilot Bob Hoover was suddenly returning from an air show in San Diego when both his engines abruptly shut down. Through impressive flying skills, he managed to land the plane, saving the people on board. Sadly, the plane was severely damaged. The cause of the engine failure was the accidental injection of jet fuel into the propeller-driven plane from World War II. At the airport, Hoover encountered the mechanic who made the mistake. The young man burst into tears, realizing how angry Hoover must have been for losing the expensive aircraft and the danger posed to the 3 people on board. Did Hoover shout at him? Blame him? Criticize him? Not at all. In fact, Hoover said that to show trust in the mechanics he had previously dealt with, he hoped the same mechanic would service the plane the next day. Hoover was kind because he was aware of the discovery by psychologist B.F. Skinner about an important aspect of animal minds. Animals rewarded for good behavior learn more effectively than animals punished for bad behavior. The same applies to people. Criticizing them will not encourage them to change their behavior. because they are driven primarily by emotion, not reason. The person you criticize won't really listen to what you're saying. They feel attacked, and their natural response is sarcasm and retaliation. Therefore, although expressing critical opinions might help you vent, in the long run, it will deter others from taking on your attitude. Indeed, many successful people have developed the habit of never publicly criticizing others. For instance, Benjamin Franklin claimed that his secret to success was speak ill of no one. In conclusion, we can cite the words of Confucius to summarize this principle: don't complain about the snow on your neighbor's roof if you haven't shoveled the snow away from your door. Criticizing someone is easy, but it takes character to be understanding and forgive others for their mistakes and shortcomings. So, if you want others to like you, think about why they did what they did, accept their flaws, and establish a rule to never openly criticize them.
Be generous with honest and sincere appreciation. The essence of being human is soaked with a deep desire for recognition and appreciation. This thirst for approval, rooted in the ancestral fear of not being accepted, guides us in every corner of our existence. Who among us has never felt exhilarated by a sincere compliment or longed for acknowledgement for a job well done? People, in their incessant search for significance, often undertake arduous paths, such as attending prestigious universities or traversing continents, all for that bit of success and acknowledgement. Every individual has a unique talent, and there is an innate desire to see that talent recognized and celebrated, especially in front of others. However, as emphasized, it is essential that these praises are sincere. From the humble worker who collects waste to the corporate executive, everyone wants to feel competent and appreciated. When you show genuine appreciation, you will notice how the atmosphere becomes charged with positivity. This desire for recognition has driven us to accomplish extraordinary feats, such as climbing the highest peaks, writing immortal literary works, and creating successful businesses. But, as to remember, it is not necessary to resort to exaggerated praise to show appreciation. Sometimes, a simple thank you or I'm sorry, accompanied by a sincere compliment, can work wonders. Avoid excessive flattery. People recognize insincerity. Focus on the positive qualities of the other, setting aside your ego. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great thinker, offers us a precious perspective. He saw in every individual something superior to himself, something to learn from and appreciate. Taking a cue from this, the author recounts how, with a simple compliment on a postal employee's hair, he managed to brighten the man's day and establish a friendly conversation. If we follow this example, scattering small gestures of appreciation in our daily lives, we will see how people respond with warmth and gratitude. You will become a beloved and sought-after person in company, and, most importantly, you will have the opportunity to enrich the lives of those around you.
Smile, and you'll see that you'll always make a good impression. The power of a smile is a phenomenon that has spanned ages, leaving an indelible mark on the history of humanity. A simple gesture, a curve of the lips, can transform a moment, a meeting, a day. When we catch the eye of a stranger and see a candid smile, an invisible bond is created between us. Consider, for instance, the innocent smile of a child. It is like a ray of sunshine that penetrates the heart, warming and lighting it up. Dale Carnegie, the master of communication and interpersonal relations, once suggested to William Steinhardt, a stockbroker known for his gruff character and averse to smiling, to try an experiment: smile more. Steinhardt, although rarely seen smiling in both his private and professional life, decided to accept the challenge. That morning, as he left the house, he gave a sincere smile to his wife, then to the doorman, and so on, to every person he met, up to his colleagues in the office. The effect was almost magical. People responded with a smile, creating an atmosphere of complicity and serenity. In just 2 months, Steinhardt experienced more moments of joy and satisfaction than in the entire previous year. And not only that, at work, tensions dissolved and profits increased. This small change transformed his life, making it more prosperous and happy. If you wish to win someone's heart, start with a sincere smile. Show them your joy in seeing them. And when people sense your happiness in meeting them, they will naturally feel happy to reciprocate. Psychological studies have revealed another fascinating aspect of smiling. It is not just a reflection of positive emotions, but can also generate them. Intentionally smiling can trigger feelings of joy and well-being. In summary, a smile is a precious, free gift that has the power to uplift our spirits and those around us.
Evoke in others your own will. Deep within the human soul lies an innate desire to feel understood and valued. People, in their essence, are often immersed in their own thoughts and desires, and rarely stop to consider the aspirations of others. It's not that they don't care about what you love or dream of, it's that they are naturally inclined to focus on what they want or what you might offer them. They couldn't care less about your dreams, they only care about themselves, as one might say. If you wish to influence someone positively, you must talk about their dreams, not yours. Take, for example, the attempt to persuade a child to quit smoking. It's not enough to say it's bad for you. You must make them reflect on the long-term consequences, like the possibility of a life shortened by smoking, which could prevent them from achieving their dreams, such as winning that race they trained so diligently for. The real question to ask is, how can I make this person want what I want, without imposing my will? The secret lies in being genuinely interested in others. Think of dogs, creatures that embody the essence of unconditional affection. A dog, upon seeing you, will run towards you with palpable emotion, demonstrating sincere affection. Dale Carnegie suggests we adopt this genuine approach with others, to show a sincere interest in our interlocutor. A smile, in this context, becomes a powerful tool of communication, far more effective than any harsh or threatening word. There is more communication in a smile than in a threat, as the saying goes. Indeed, encouragement has a transformative power far superior to repression. If you want people to be happy to be with you, you must first demonstrate that you are happy to be with them. Here lies the key to building authentic and lasting relationships.
For a person, their name is the most important and sweetest melody there is. In a world where individuality is often drowned out by the hustle and bustle of daily life, the power of a name shines like a beacon. Who among us has not forgotten the name of a person just met? And how many have tried to mask this lapse with vague expressions like "Hey, buddy," or "Excuse me, could you come here for a moment?" A person's name is the key to their heart. As a wise person said, the name distinguishes him from all others. The name identifies him, the name is his. Indeed, remembering someone's name is one of the most sincere ways to show respect and interest. But it doesn't stop with just remembering the name. The art of active listening is crucial. People want to share their stories, their triumphs, and their challenges. They are in search of an attentive ear, someone who listens without interrupting or trying to overshadow them with their own experiences. To be interesting, be interested, as the saying goes. And remember, people are immersed in their problems, not yours. When you meet someone for the first time, make an effort to capture their name. If you haven't heard it well, ask for it to be repeated. Use it in conversation, associating it with the face in front of you. And, as a little trick to reinforce memory, write it down when you are alone. But the art of remembering doesn't end there. The author had the habit of noting down the birth dates of people he met so that he could send them a greeting message on their birthday. Imagine the surprise and gratitude of those who received those messages, especially when sometimes the author was the only one to remember that special date. In such a simple gesture lies the secret to deep and enduring relationships.
If you want to be interesting too, be a good listener, genuinely interested in others. In the fervor of conversations, we often lose ourselves in the tumult of our thoughts, mentally planning our next sentence rather than immersing ourselves in the essence of what the other person is sharing. The art of listening, unfortunately, has become a rarity in a world dominated by the need to express oneself. To truly listen means to immerse oneself in the flow of the other's words, capturing not just the meaning but also the emotions and nuances. The benefits of authentic listening are immeasurable. Take, for example, the figure of Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. He was renowned not only for his revolutionary theories but also for his extraordinary ability to listen. With an almost tangible attention, Freud gave his interlocutors the feeling of being truly heard, making them feel valued. This created an environment where people felt free to share their deepest and most intimate experiences. On the contrary, dominating a conversation, constantly interrupting, and not paying attention to others are clear signals of self-centeredness. These habits can create barriers and hinder the creation of authentic bonds. Therefore, the next time you find yourself in a conversation, make an effort to really listen. Ask questions that allow the other person to talk about what they love and what they are passionate about. You will discover that through listening, you can weave deep and lasting bonds.
Think about what others want and talk about what is important to them. Do you like strawberries? Probably. But would you use them as bait if you were going fishing? Of course not, because in fishing it doesn't matter what you like. What matters is what the fish eat. Similarly, if you want someone else to do something, it's better to think from their point of view. Carnegie had booked the ballroom of a hotel to host a series of 20 lectures when he was suddenly informed that the price of the space would be tripled. Knowing that he had to think about what the hotel management wanted, he wrote them a letter outlining the pros and cons of increasing the price. He wrote to them that by increasing the price, they would have the ballroom available for other events, because the author could not afford to pay the rent, but on the other hand, they would lose the free advertising they gained from the author's lectures. The hotel reconsidered the matter and only increased the price by 50%. Another crucial piece of advice for gaining someone's favor is to inquire and talk about things that are important to them. Theodore Roosevelt, whenever he was about to meet a new person, would prepare thoroughly for the encounter by reading everything he could about the other person's interests. He understood that the way to someone's good graces was to talk about the things they cherish the most. A quote from him, "The royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures most." If you are not sure about the other person's interests, remember that there is one subject everyone is interested in: themselves. As Benjamin Disraeli said, talk to people about themselves and they will listen for hours.
The best way to win an argument is to avoid it. Patrick J. O'Hare was a man of fiery spirit and determination. Attending the lectures of the illustrious author, he stood out as a salesman for white motor trucks. However, he had a weakness: his reactivity. At the slightest hint of criticism towards his trucks, O'Hare would become inflamed, entering into heated disputes. And, although he often emerged victorious from these verbal clashes, paradoxically, his customers, intimidated by his temperament, withdrew from purchasing. Imagine yourself in a room where a speaker is presenting a concept that you know perfectly well. If you perceived an error or a distortion, the temptation to intervene could be strong. But, as the author pointed out, to correct someone in public could hurt their pride and certainly would not earn their esteem or sympathy. Controversies, in fact, tend to harden positions rather than facilitate a change of views. The art of dialogue is not in prevailing, but in building bridges of understanding. The next time you are faced with a diverging opinion, instead of opposing it, try to understand, to welcome the disagreement as an opportunity for growth. Your mind, open to dialogue, might discover new perspectives and become enriched. Listen carefully, look for points of convergence, and if you realize you have made a mistake, admit it with humility. This attitude will disarm your opponent, turning them into a potential ally. And, as Carnegie suggests, you might also propose a further meeting, to reflect together and delve deeper into the matter. Patrick J. O'Hare, over time and with experience, learned to master his temperament. When a customer pointed out a preference for another brand of trucks, O'Hare, with great maturity, accepted the feedback without argument. This change in attitude not only allowed him to avoid unnecessary conflicts but also led him to become the leading salesman of the White Truck Company.
Show respect for other opinions and never say, "You are wrong." In the vast universe of human interactions, delicacy and sensitivity are often underestimated. When you contradict someone, you are implicitly stating, "I know better than you." This statement, even if not spoken out loud, can hurt the other person's pride, like an arrow striking the ego, causing a defensive reaction. In reality, communication should never become a battlefield where strength and intelligence are measured. When entering a debate, it is crucial to avoid categorical expressions such as "it's obvious that," or "clearly, the situation is." These phrases, in fact, convey an underlying message: "My view is superior to yours." And, even if in your heart you believe to be right, openly expressing such superiority can only create distance. The art of persuasion lies in the ability to present your ideas with humility and respect. Instead of stating your position absolutely, you could say, "I had a different view on this, but I might have misunderstood. You know, I have been wrong before. Why don't we look at the details together?" This kind of approach not only avoids conflicts but also opens the doors to constructive dialogue. By incorporating humility into your communication, you reduce the likelihood of resistance and hostility from the other party. And, with a bit of empathy and understanding, it is possible to transform potential adversaries into collaborators, creating common ground on which to build fruitful dialogue.
If you are wrong, admit it promptly and dispassionately. When one finds themselves in a situation where they have been caught making a mistake, it is natural to look for excuses or justifications. However, the wisest advice is to stop, look the other person in the eye, and admit one's fault without hesitation. Allowing the other person to be right and showing readiness to accept the consequences of one's actions can, in fact, calm the other person's anger, preventing the situation from deteriorating further. When one self-accuses, the other person is often inclined to mitigate their judgment, perhaps limiting themselves to a simple reprimand, just like a puppy that, aware of its mistake, lowers its head in a sign of repentance. An enlightening episode concerns Dale Carnegie, who, during a walk in the woods with his dog Rex, found himself in trouble with a police officer. Rex, a lover of freedom, wore neither leash nor muzzle. The encounter with the officer could have had unpleasant consequences, but Carnegie, by promptly admitting his error, managed to defuse the situation. Despite the law, the officer, faced with Carnegie's sincerity and remorse, was understanding and limited himself to a verbal warning. However, Rex's habit of wandering freely led to another encounter with the same officer. This time, before the officer could express his displeasure, Carnegie anticipated his words, expressing sincere regret for his negligence. This prompt admission of guilt not only avoided further repercussions but even led the officer to downplay the incident, allowing Carnegie and Rex to continue on their way undisturbed. The moral is that to err is human, and when facing one's own shortcomings, sincerity and the spontaneous admission of one's fault can transform potential conflicts into moments of mutual understanding. The next time you find yourself in the wrong, do not hesitate to acknowledge it openly. You will see that, in addition to making the atmosphere more serene, there will also be a sense of liberation and, why not, a hint of amusement in no longer having to defend oneself from accusations already accepted.
To be persuasive, ensure that your interlocutor is led to respond yes right from the first answer. The art of persuasion has many facets, and one of the most effective techniques is to steer the interlocutor towards a series of affirmative responses. Imagine building a bridge of agreement. Each yes is a stone that strengthens the structure. Start by emphasizing the aspects you and the interlocutor already agree on. Then, ask questions that naturally lead to positive responses. It's like giving an initial push to a pendulum. Once it starts moving in one direction, it's difficult to stop it. Conversely, trying to get a no can create a wall between you and the interlocutor. A denial, in fact, can entrench the other person in their position, making any further attempt at persuasion difficult. For those working in sales, this technique is golden. Take the example of Eddie Snow, a participant in Carnegie's courses. One day, Mr. Snow wanted to rent a bow from a specialized shop. The clerk, however, informed him that the rental was not possible. But instead of stopping there, the clerk used the art of yes. Clerk, have you ever rented a bow before? Mr. Snow, yes. Clerk, I imagine you spent between $25 and $30, right? Mr. Snow, yes. Clerk, well, we have bow sets for sale for just $34.95. If you consider what you've spent on renting, with a small difference you could own one all to yourself. That's why we stopped the rental service. Doesn't it seem like a reasonable offer? Mr. Snow, yes. And so, thanks to this sequence of affirmative responses, not only did Mr. Snow make the purchase, but he also became a loyal customer of the store. The lesson to be learned? When you find yourself in front of a divergence of opinions, instead of opposing a dry no, try to build a path made of yes. The road to agreement will be much smoother.
Convince others to share your opinions. The essence of human interaction lies in connection. When people feel neglected or not taken into account, they tend to withdraw into a shell, protecting their emotions. If you find yourself facing someone who seems distant or reluctant, it might be helpful to evoke happy memories or shared moments. This can rekindle the spark of connection and open a channel of communication. It is in human nature to want to have control over one's decisions. Feeling that our choices are the result of our own will and not external pressures is fundamental to our sense of autonomy. Therefore, when we interact with others, it is essential to respect this prerogative, avoiding imposing our ideas or desires. However, a bit of stimulus, such as a friendly challenge, can awaken people's enthusiasm and interest. Competition, if proposed in a healthy and constructive way, can become a powerful catalyst for action. But, as with everything, balance is key. If you wish to motivate and engage someone, an empathetic and sincere approach can work wonders. Listen carefully, show genuine appreciation, and when appropriate, stimulate their competitive spirit. In this way, you will not only gain their cooperation but also their respect and gratitude.
To predispose others, start with praise and then continue to praise them. In the fervor of the 1896 presidential elections, William McKinley faced a delicate challenge. A talented speechwriter, hired for the important campaign, had delivered a text that, although masterfully written, would surely have raised controversy. McKinley's difficult task was how to communicate the need for a revision without demoralizing the author, who was clearly proud of his work. Instead of approaching the situation with direct criticism, McKinley chose the path of praise. He began by highlighting the qualities of the speech, recognizing the skill with which it was written. However, for the particular circumstance of the campaign, a different tone was needed, a message more suited to the moment. Thanks to this balanced approach, McKinley not only preserved the writer's enthusiasm but also motivated him to revise the speech in line with his directions. The lesson to be learned from this episode is clear. The art of communication lies not only in what is said but also in how it is said. When we find ourselves in the position of having to suggest changes or corrections, it is crucial to approach the situation with sensitivity and tact. A sincere compliment can open the door to constructive communication, making the subsequent criticism more palatable. In this way, not only is more effective collaboration achieved, but the bond of mutual respect and trust is also strengthened.
EAD no smoking. Instead of approaching with a harsh reprimand, Schwab opted for a more subtle and kind approach. He pulled out some fine cigars from his pocket and, with a smile, handed them out to the workers, asking them, in a friendly tone, to enjoy their cigar outside. With this clever move, he not only highlighted their negligence but did so in a way that earned their respect and affection. The lesson we can learn from this episode is the importance of diplomacy and sensitivity in communication. Instead of pointing an accusing finger, it is often more effective to direct attention indirectly, avoiding words that might sound like an accusation. A small tip: when we speak, we should try to avoid words like but or however, which often precede a criticism. By replacing them with and, the tone of the conversation becomes more positive and constructive. For example, instead of saying "you've done a good job, but you need to improve this," we could say, "You've done a good job, and I'm sure that with a little more effort, you'll excel in this as well." Another effective method for approaching people is to share your own experiences and vulnerabilities. If, for instance, we discover that a youth in our family has started smoking, we might talk about our own past battles with tobacco, the difficulties in quitting, and the health consequences. This type of sincere sharing can have a profound impact, as it shows empathy and understanding, making the interlocutor more open and receptive to the message.
Use these rules if you want to get the most from people. When interacting with others, it is essential to remember that each individual has their own sense of dignity and pride. Here are some reflections on how to improve our communication and relationships with others. Question: don't order. No one likes to feel commanded or diminished. Instead of giving direct orders, try phrasing your requests as questions. For example, instead of saying "close the window," you could ask, "Would you mind closing the window?" Critique in private. Public criticism can deeply hurt and leave lasting scars. If you need to offer feedback or correction, do it in a private and confidential setting, where the person can feel safe and open to dialogue. Lift others up. Every individual has something special and unique. Recognize and celebrate the talents and abilities of the people around you. When you show admiration and respect for others' qualities, you create an environment of trust and encouragement. Encourage and guide. Mistakes are human, but they are also an opportunity to grow and learn. Instead of highlighting what went wrong, show how it can be corrected and make the path to correction a positive and constructive experience. Be a beacon of positivity. When suggesting or proposing something, present your proposal in a positive light. Show how your ideas can lead to beneficial results and make others enthusiastic about following them. Always remember that kindness, empathy, and respect are the key to building strong and lasting relationships. With a little care and attention in our interactions, we can create an environment where everyone feels valued and appreciated. Thank you for listening to this audiobook. We ask you to support us by subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell icon so that you receive notifications for every new audiobook we publish. The next summary will be dedicated to the famous work by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Leave us a comment on the audiobook you just listened to or the title of a book you would like to find summarized on the channel for listening. Until next time.